Welcome to The Business Mind. Join me, Mark Fechner, as I sit down with business leaders to discuss their real-world challenges and formulate forward-thinking, creative solutions. We focus on real people with real issues, and we tackle those issues in real time. I don't have the answers. I help you find the answers within you. Sometimes all that is needed is just a slight change in perception. The Business Mind Show starts now. Good morning, everyone. I am Mark Fechner, and welcome to The Business Mind here on transformationtalkradio.com, the show that highlights our guests' pursuit of excellence through the process of one-on-one coaching. I would welcome your comments or questions. You can leave them on the Transformation Talk Radio website, or you can go to our facebook.com/Transformation Talk Radio live feed, and there's a section there where you can leave comments, and my able producer Jacob will be monitoring that and passing those along. So today we are going to be talking about communication. Now, every business owner is in the communication business. It is incumbent upon them, whether they are a startup or a business owner of 300 employees, to communicate not only to customers but to employees and to all people who are looking to engage with that business. And that communication comes in all forms, both written and oral, to dispense their information. So the challenge then becomes, well, what happens when your customers aren't responding to you, that don't answer your emails or your text messages? What do you do then? Well, that's exactly the issue that we're going to talk about today with my guest. She is the owner of Tasteful Adventures, and she sells wine from California and France. She's also an independent wine consultant of the Boisset. I knew I was going to screw that up. The Boisset collection. And she loves teaching people about how to pair wines with the right foods. Please welcome to our show, Miss Susie Whipple.
Nice to be here, Mark. And it's Boisset. Just think
Boisset.
of your say something. There you go.
I knew there was not enough time for me to get that right.
It's okay. Years of French has helped prepare me to be able to say my company name.
I will tip my hat to your advanced experience in that regard. So please, I know I gave a brief little introduction. Tell me about your business.
So I am considered an independent wine consultant. We sell wine direct to consumer through private tastings, through corporate events. I do a lot of teaching at my tastings. Having been a former public school teacher, it's kind of in my blood. I can't leave a tasting without making sure my guests have learned something before they walk out the door. So been in the business now for almost 8 years and love it because I do get to teach. So I keep going back to that teaching. And yeah, that's what we do. We sell wine and we enjoy it. And we share lots of great stories. I can tell you that there's never a dull moment over a bottle of wine.
Yes, that is true. I've experienced some of those myself. So what is it that you would like to talk about today?
So I have, I know it's not a unique issue, but it is an issue that seems to be getting more prevalent, and it's a lack of response. And then from customers for their quarterly shipments, or if they ask me to set up an event with them, and I know what the timing is, timing is very important because of shipping. So when responses don't come back, I'm feeling very frustrated because I don't know how much communication is too much. Like, do I need to go to their house and say hello? Or, how many times do I text, do I call without seeming overbearing, too pushy, come on, I want your sale. But on the other side of that coin, it's, you want this, but I need your response. And so that how much is too much? What is it that I'm doing the wrong way? From sending the emails and texting and saying, happy to help you. I just need to hear from you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the biggest thing, is like, what is too much? I've tried multiple forms of communication because I know that some people don't read their email as much as they read their text.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's that's a frustration for me.
Right.
I want to be responsive to my clients and help them, plan their events and get their wine as, appropriate or quickly as possible. But I also need to hear from them. So
You're looking to try to accommodate your customers as they have asked you to, and they don't always, for whatever reason, respond in a like fashion.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
When so I know when we talked before the show that your communication is both in email and text fashion, because like you said, some people respond better to one than the other.
Mm.
um has there been any kind of, let me rephrase that, what's the better response rate, through emails, through text? Have you found a pattern in that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I've actually ever really studied it,
Mhm.
or, like really figured that out, because each person is so different. There are some that I know I have to send the text to say, please read your email. I know I have to do that because they won't
Okay.
read their email. Others will say, like if I don't get a response from text or email, I will try to just call them and say, I'm not sure if, the email went to spam or,
Hmm.
whatever. Um, and sometimes I'll get a response that'll say, oh gosh, I wish you would have bugged me more. Or I'm thinking, that's not how I want to come across as somebody who's bugging you more. That's not the issue. So sometimes maybe it is a phone call that's needed. But then again, people are busy. They're middle of their workday. They don't want to be chatting with their wine lady. If somebody overhears them, what are you talking about? The
You never
wine.
know, maybe they do want to chat with their wine lady.
That's
Because
true.
it's a much brighter type of conversation than what they might be involved with.
Yeah, but I haven't. I never thought about doing like an assessment of which is a good point. I probably can do that moving forward. Like figure out who responds more quickly to email, who responds more quickly to text, who needs everything, who
Hmm.
needs, So that's I'm glad you said that, because I've never actually done the math on that. I haven't looked at the statistics for that.
Okay.
And
We'll get into that, I think, more as we move forward here with the show. I think this would be a good place to kind of take a quick break. You are listening to The Business Mind with Mark Fechner. Remember, please make your comments on our Facebook page or on the Transformation Talk Radio website. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to go deeper into this challenge of how Susie can sort of adapt her business to the needs of her clients to get the kind of responses she needs to be a more effective business owner. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Business Mind. I am Mark Fechner. We are here today with my guest, Susie Whipple of Tasteful Adventures, and we're talking about how to get response from your clients through communication. Before I continue, Susie, can tell us how our audience can get a hold of you?
so my website is do you want me to say the whole website? It's pretty long.
Sure.
Okay, my website is www.boisset, I'll spell that out, BOISSET collection.com /Susie Whipple, Whipple is spelled Whipple.
Okay. And is there an email address people can get a hold of you?
The email is sjonzac@aol.com.
Okay. Okay. And that stuff is also in the landing page for this episode. So all of that information is there as well. So you mentioned something the before we broke about you don't want to come across as bugging people. Tell me more about that.
Well, I know that when my customers, especially my wine club customers, we call it the wine society, but for better understanding, I'll use the word club, but those, they sign up for that. It's a quarterly shipment that they will receive, and they receive multiple notifications actually from Boisset. I then will reach out and say, since I know most of my customers like to select their own wines, so, and I need to make those changes. So I will reach out and say, you just got your notice. I know you typically like to customize. Let me know, what you would like to swap out everything, one of them, whatever you want. Let me know if you need extra for upcoming events, that kind of thing. So I send that out and try to be, I feel like I'm being proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting at least 3 notifications, 2 from Boisset and 1 from me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's kind of like, that's obviously not enough because most people don't respond back. But that's when we start throwing the text in and saying, please check your email, check your order, whatever, or give me a call and let's talk about what you would like.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting, I would say the majority of my customers get at least 4 messages,
Some sort of notification.
right, before their deadline, because there's a deadline from when to the point where I can make changes. After that deadline, I can't make it. And so for me, I'd like to make sure that they're going to receive what they want, because otherwise, once the shipment goes, I mean, I have no control over it.
Yeah, it's over and
out of
done
my
with.
hands at that point. So, I don't want to disappoint people. I want them to receive what they like. Some of my customers do trust me. It's a small, well, I shouldn't say they don't trust me, but some of them are like, go in and pick what we like, and then just tell me what it is and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Those, out of all of my customers, that's probably, I could count them on one hand that are willing to let me do that. And since it is their money, I want to make sure they approve it up front. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be surprised. I tell people I like to offer concierge service, really go the extra mile to make sure that everybody's happy. And I've always been that way because, if you get something you don't want, there's a hassle involved.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something. So, they get at least 4 notifications minimum. And so that's when, if I have to go more than those 4, I feel like, okay, am I bugging them too much? Am I over, sending them? But when I don't hear anything, I don't even know if they've read
Right.
them.
Right.
So that's why I use the term bugging them.
Right.
I just don't. How much communication is too much is kind of it, or maybe it's not enough, because there'll be other people that will say you should have just kept on me, and it's like,
So I've been part of monthly clubs, for getting anything from cigars to fruit. My wife just got a gift of coffee from around the world. And, so I'm familiar with, how that engagement happens. And for me personally, I- this is, if I'm setting myself up to kind of go, oh, go ahead. I tend to shy away from these things because I will forget I did it.
mm,
just personally, I'll forget, oh yeah, wait a minute, I signed up for this.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I tend to not do those things, because I want to be cognizant of what's going on. That's me. My point in that is, when you talk about how much communication is too much communication, what do you think is that tipping point?
Without sounding, um, I don't even know what the word is, because I'm very, if I sign up for something, I make sure that I know it's on my calendar. Like I know this is coming, so that I'm prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would hope that 4 times is plenty. I don't know that I would need, I personally would feel like I was being bugged if someone reached out to me more than that, because I would have responded back the first time. That's just my
Well,
personality.
you would have responded back, but
Right.
your
Right.
but some of your clientele, apparently four is not enough.
Correct. So then do you find another source of, is that when I start the phone calls, which I have done in the past?
Mm-hmm. How is that come? I mean, what's been the response when you start calling people?
Well, usually I get a voicemail, so I have to leave a message.
Right, of course.
And then, say, trying to get a hold of you, trying to, get this set before the deadline, which is X date.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that most of them will then text me back and go, "Oh my gosh, I read your email and I totally forgot."
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's kind of weird. Like, how obviously I'm not bugging them if they haven't read the email or if they forgot. But then again, I have a lot of clients, and to
Mm-hmm.
make multiple attempts
Yeah,
for
it
each
becomes
one,
unwieldy for you to have to constantly babysit these people.
I guess that's a great word to use it without sounding disrespectful to my clients.
No, but if
Um,
like I said, when we were talking before the show and we did the pre interview stuff, you know, there's a certain amount of, I'm contacting you, I'm calling you, you know, there's only so many hours in the day for me to be able to handhold your client to finally decide, hey, listen, this is what I want.
mhm, mhm.
So it's really, it becomes, so now we start talking about, okay, what's a better system for you to be able to communicate and um, reach out to these clients that have knowingly signed up for your services and for your products, but aren't responding. So, what would be a way that we could switch this around so that you can better engage with these people?
Well, I think it bothers me more than it does them,
Okay.
because I don't
So,
like to come across that way. So I think a big thing is more like I have to change the way I'm thinking.
okay. So
Maybe it's not bugging them.
let's talk about that. What is it about reaching out for you might be, incessantly, but reaching out to these people, what is it about you that bugs you about that?
I think because I feel like I'm coming across as pushy, like, come on, let's get this, I need you to get your order in.
Mm-hmm.
And they could cancel at any time. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's in their prerogative, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to push them to, I think I feel like at times, because I'm trying to reach them on so many levels or different methods, that it's like they're just going to say, "Oh God, I've had enough of this lady." And that's my perception. I,
Okay.
it- you know,
So what's the worst thing that can happen in that situation?
well, they may just say, "I don't want to be your customer anymore." That would
Okay.
be the worst case.
Okay.
You know, and that's, I would hate that, but that is a possibility.
Right.
Um, Yeah, it is all about, I think, how I'm responding to it
Hmm.
in a way more than them, because there are those that say, "Oh gosh, thank God you kept bugging me,"
Hmm. Right.
or "You should have bugged me more." And I'm thinking, you know, how
Yeah.
many times is more? How
Yeah.
many times is not enough? How many times is too much? It's like I feel like I'm juggling those thoughts. Like,
Right. So you have a pretty wide roster of clients, and you're so it becomes really difficult to accommodate the various different personalities that might be in your customer list. So what's another way of thinking about this?
well, since our planning thing, I have done some other I've been thinking about this differently, especially with we're ending 2022, going into 2023. Like, how do I take the that feeling that I have and make it less?
Hmm.
Because obviously for some of my people, it doesn't matter. They're okay with all of it. I have to look at it my differently
Right.
from my perspective,
Right.
and trying to figure out how can I start the new year engaging them if I can, get a response
Hmm. Hmm.
um, about moving forward. Like, what would be their best asking them instead of me just going through these different
Right.
avenues of communication.
I'd like to suggest a slightly different tilt on that.
Okay.
It's not about accommodating the client. It's more about you are running a business, and these clients of yours have willingly and knowingly and in full faculties, in full faith of their faculties, have said, I want your services. This is now about a process by which you engage with these people. And what it sounds like is that your process is a little nebulous because you're trying to accommodate all these various different personalities. Some like to be some like notification, some people want to be quote unquote bugged, some people want nothing to do with you and just whatever, but they've all signed up for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So your process needs to accommodate the widest swath of your clients. You're still going to have outliers, obviously. You're still going to have those one or two people that you know are going to need a little special hand holding. That's fine. But to have, half your business in that realm, well, that's a different story. That sounds
Mm-hmm.
more like a process by which you can communicate that makes more sense to you and makes your life easier. What do you think of that?
I like that. And I think that's kind of where I was thinking in the back of my head, like, the change has to come on my end,
Yeah.
um, and set up what's going to happen. I mean, I do have to, full disclaimer, I have some customers that are awesome. They get their notice and bam, they're right on top of it. They're like,
Hmm.
change this, do that. That's a small percentage, but they make my life much easier.
So the first question that comes to my mind is, how can you increase that percentage of clientele that are
Hmm.
that are on top of it? The kind of clientele that you really want. That's what it sounds like.
That's a great question. And I don't have an answer for that, because when I first get a customer, sometimes I don't know them that well. I mean, it's not I might meet them at a wine tasting from someone I know, but it's their guest. So
Mhm.
trying to, however, now that I'm talking out loud, at that wine tasting, when they do become, say, what is your preferred method of, I could ask that question
Mhm.
right then at the beginning,
Mhm.
kind of silly that I haven't thought of that before, but sometimes it's not until you start talking these things out loud.
That's
You know,
right.
oh, yeah. That would be probably a good way to start right off the bat.
So part of your introductory onboarding, I don't know that that's the right word, but you when you get involved with a client for the very first time, part of that process could be, okay, tell me, how do you communicate? How would you like me to communicate? We're going to be sending you notifications. You're signing up for a quarterly delivery of wine, and you have the choice of what it is you want in that selection of wines that you're getting. How would you like to communicate? Sounds like you could do that right at the very beginning.
That is, I feel like 8 years and I never thought to ask that question. It's like, you know,
Well, there you go.
um,
That's all that. Well, it doesn't
but
matter
that's
when you do it.
great.
It just
I
matters
love
that you
that.
did it.
And I am
Okay.
going to start doing that. That's a
Okay.
really good thing. So
All
that
right.
helps with new people. So now the question is with the existing,
Mm-hmm.
whom I love dearly because
Mm-hmm.
they've supported my business for eight
Right.
years.
Exactly.
So
So how can you? So how now you've got a neat new idea of what you can do with brand new clients. How can you take that idea and now translate it to your existing clients?
well, I think using the beginning of the new year, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
always a great segue into anything, because things change year to year. I think that's a great way. Maybe, I hate to say like questionnaire or survey or whatever, but something that I can give to all of them and say, as we move together into 2023,
There you go.
um, please answer these. I make it very short because we all know that if it's too much, they don't read it. Just a couple questions. What is your preferred means of just communication? How do you want me to do this? Also, let them know that, if they don't respond, you never want to put something in the negative. So, um, there has to be like a deadline. Like if there's no response, I will, and you don't want to assume either. So I'm trying to put this into like questions that I could ask them, but um, you know, based on your past preferences, based
Mm-hmm.
on your order, dollar amounts, um, give them the option of letting me substitute something that I know they don't like. Um, I have one customer, she hates sparkling wine and it's there a couple times a year. And I know automatically that that's going to be gone.
Right.
So, based on your previous orders, based on your wine preferences that you've shared with me, based on your past history, are you comfortable with, is that a yes? That's a yes or no question. That's
What
pretty.
what are you could ask, what are your comfort levels in having me select based upon your history?
Okay, I like that. Comfort level's good. Makes them
Okay.
feel kind of, you know, like you're still taking care of them.
Well,
But
you're all.
it is an issue, that you do have to respect. They're paying for this. That's why I think I've always been so hesitant because it's like I don't want to make decisions with someone else's. I
Mhm.
don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe this is a month that they need to skip, and they don't want to tell me that. And that's why they're not answering. It's
Mhm.
like, I don't know. But I like, what is your comfort level based on blah, blah, blah.
Take a to another question that kind of popped in my head. What if you were to, so you deliver wines on a quarterly basis, correct? I got that right, right?
The wine is shipped quarterly.
Got it.
Sometimes I deliver if they choose to order the French wine here in
Okay.
Illinois, but other states are different.
Okay. So it's not a monthly thing. It's a little bit more, you know. And so over, let's say 4 quarters, a person's life can have some very dramatic changes to it.
Yes, yes.
What would be a way for you to engage with your client saying, has your life, you know, circumstances changed? What's possibly changed in your ordering habits that would affect, maybe putting your membership on hold, or however the terminology you would use in your business. What do you think of that?
That strangely enough, has never been an issue. If people are going through a difficult time, I've had some members who have become pregnant. So, but
Obviously, yeah, at that
when
point.
there's changes like that, I get responses right away.
Hmm.
I mean, they may not share details, but they will say, we've had, a few things happen. I'm going to have to, you know, either skip this or drop out and, whatever. That communication actually is very good.
Okay.
When it's a life change, they are very open with me
Okay.
to the fact that they need to, alter things. And I can work with them to an extent on my end without them having to, like, if it's just like, this month we have just a lot of bills, I just need to skip. I had one customer who actually they had a house fire. So they were living in a hotel for a while, and then and I said, it's okay. We cancel it. She says, I don't want to cancel. I said, well, if you don't, you have an open-ended, like, I don't know where I'm going to be living situation.
Right.
So
Right.
we need to cancel. But they were very, open about letting me know, like, yeah, things have happened over the last 3 months that we need to make some changes on. And most of them will actually tell me ahead of time, like, this has happened. I have to change for, September or whatever. So
My
that
thought would be, if my house was on fire, I think drinking would be a priority at that point. Personally.
well, yeah, but when you have to rebuild and all that,
Even more drinking, let me tell you.
I will say that when there have been major changes, those are some of my most, they're like so apologetic. It's like, I'm so sorry, I have to quit. I have to quit. My it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Life happens.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So I want to tack a little bit on this. So you've had some really successful communications with people. You just illustrated one of them. Or yeah, what are the elements of those successful communications?
what are the elements? Well, I think they're taking charge. They're taking
Okay.
over to communicate with me, to
Okay.
let me know that there's something going on. Because I wouldn't know it otherwise. There's no way I could know that. Um, and I do try in between um, shipments, like, sometimes I just send random, just like, hey, I hope you're having a great day, kind of messages, because I don't want all contact just to be sales. Um, or I'll touch base with them and say, okay, you tried something new. What are your comments? What do you think? Is that
Hmm.
something that style that you'd like to try more often? Because then that gives me more ideas as far as what to
Hmm.
suggest to them. Um, and that's kind of some will give me a response and some will say, oh yeah, it was good.
Well, it's the fact that they've responded. It doesn't
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
to what extent or how, how verbal they are or how extensive they are in their response. It's that they responded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in so you mentioned, that those clients that are actually taking charge, that, like to engage in response. What are some of the so in that kind of conversation, what are some things that you can pull out of that to maybe utilize for other communications?
Well, I think just maybe having conversations before it's time for the shipment, you know, um, to check in with people.
Hmm.
But then again, I'm making this a lot. It's not a lot of work. I shouldn't say that. Um,
In fairness, Susie, you're starting something new. You're starting to do something different. It's going to take some effort, obviously,
yeah,
and that's perfectly fine. But
yeah.
you made the good point of saying, "Hey, listen, this is 23. We're starting a brand new year, and for me to better serve you as my client, I am looking to make some adjustments to how I want to communicate with you and give you the best service possible."
That, yeah.
So, in identifying what some of those elements are of the successful things, what can you take away from that and start applying on a more broader basis?
Well, perhaps because I think I am going to do some sort of a questionnaire survey or whatever, but maybe put something in there like if life changes or, because life does arise. I mean, it arises I mean, we can't change it. If you have things that are coming up that you want to just give me a heads up on ahead of time that I know, um, I don't need to know the details. I just need to know that they're going through something um, a little bit
Hmm.
that maybe wine is not the priority. And instead of making it awkward later on when it gets closer to that time, maybe if they just, hopefully they would feel comfortable enough to
Hmm.
say, this is happening. Um, Share with me what you're comfortable with, but at least feel free to I want you to feel comfortable to say to me, I can't do it this month. And then I can go in the back office and they won't even get all of the
Hmm.
communications. I mean, I can alleviate that if they're comfortable in sharing or feeling that they can say, hey, this is in my life, like the ones that do tell me, give the others that opportunity or that
Hmm.
option to say, hey, we're moving, we're pregnant, we lost a job. I mean, whatever. They don't have to tell me the reason, but they could just say that things have come up that this might be something I need to skip for now and have
Hmm.
them feel like they can say that.
You mentioned something earlier also about um, trying to be proactive in your communication. What sort of communication do you provide that just speaks to the lifestyle of the client?
One of the questions that I ask all of my clients is what is their wine style? Because then when those
Okay.
shipments come in, when I respond to their notification from the company, I will say, these are the wines that are the curated wines, and I'll give a description about them. And then I will also say, I know that you prefer this. Here's an alternative, and I'll give a description of maybe something new that they
Hmm.
haven't tried, but that fits their preference. So it's not just, do you want something different? I'm giving them options in the
Hmm.
message with,
Hmm.
flavor profile, tasting notes, whatever, something to help them make that decision because they don't know.
What about, again, in trying to be more proactive with your clients, what sort of questions would you want to ask that would speak to not just wine preferences but lifestyle preferences? Meaning, they're a single person on the run a lot, or they're a family of four, or things like that. What sort of questions do you ask in that regard?
Those I typically get that kind of feedback during because for each tasting, I usually do some icebreakers, and one of them is, we entertain, we gift wine,
Mm-hmm.
um, how often, like because to set up a quarterly shipment, you set up by number of bottles. So I'm like, if you drink a bottle a week, or you use a bottle a week between a gift, an event, a dinner party, whatever, think about this number because it'll get you through your quarter. If you
Mm-hmm.
are somebody who drinks, maybe a bottle a month, go with 3 bottles. So I do ask if they entertain. I do ask if they gift. I ask if they you know, I broad questions. I mean, I don't have to tell me
Hmm.
everything. I do ask some of those questions. So that gives me
Okay.
a bit more information. Some people say I'm the only one in my house that drinks. Others are, oh, my husband and I, we like to have a nice bottle of wine a couple times a week or, whatever.
Hmm.
So I do get that kind of information, which is very helpful because it does help me know a little of their lifestyle. And that's always on my icebreaker question for
Okay.
new people. So, but I don't do that for everybody. I do it the first time I meet them because then I know.
Right.
And then I make notes and keep
Okay.
that. I
All
always
right.
keep their wine style in the
So
back.
it's somewhat part of your onboarding process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How can you take that and now adopt it or you know pivot to your existing clients? Because as we've said, lifestyles change.
Right.
People's people's what's happened in their lives have changed, especially if they've been with you for a while. What would be the possibility that you could take that question that you've used for new customers and re-ask it for existing customers?
That's actually a really good way to do that. Because sometimes I have people who, over the course of time, through trying new things, they have changed.
Hmm.
Um, or now they're doing more food and wine pairing. They're more conscious of that. So that could be a question to, I know that when we first, you first met me, this was what you preferred. Have you changed your preferences? Have you changed your are you having more dinner parties? Are
Hmm.
I could reword those questions and put it on starting for 2023 because I
Hmm.
think that would be a good way for me to know. I know some that who are my responsive clients will be like, you know what? I saw your post on blah, blah, blah. I want to try that. I know it's not my thing, but it sounds good. I want to try it. So,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. Um, but I think that is a good thing to do. Ask them what's changed in
Yeah.
their
Yeah. I
lifestyle.
mean, they're your clients. They're the ones that are going through their lives,
Mm-hmm.
and the goal is for you to better communicate with them and to be of better service
Mm-hmm.
to how your clients are looking for, you know, the engagement with you.
Right. Right.
So, and one more thing I think I want to touch upon here. Um, in thinking about the successful clients, and it
Mhm.
really does sound like if you sort of examine what has really worked well, or identifying those clients that you really like and whatnot, how would it be for you to start pulling out and adopting for the those clients that are a little bit more challenging? um what do you think of being able to kind of change their perception of how you operate?
I think that would be a good idea if I can articulate that correctly to them. That would be,
Okay, fair enough.
um, because I do think a lot of it is my response to all of this. And
Hmm.
so that's why I'm trying to look at this from a different perspective, um, which is contrary to my nature, because my nature is to, do everything I possibly can to make it right. But
Hmm.
that's what is frustrating is that, you're doing it.
So my question is, who's defining what is right?
Well, I don't know that answer. I would think the client, but then maybe it's me. That's,
Hmm.
like I said, can you tell them I have a little control issue here? Like I do have, like, I want things to
Like
be
every
right.
other small business owner I've ever met, there's a little bit of control issue.
Well, I'm not a last minute Charlie kind of girl. So
Hmm.
it's like I have to accept the fact that there are people out there that do wait to the very last minute.
Hmm.
Just take a breath and say, okay,
So knowing that, how can you adopt your process to accommodate them?
I would like to say if I would like to throw back on them, but I don't think that would work. I think that
You're
there
right.
has to
It's
be a
not going to work because
balance.
I'm
Yeah, there
sorry.
has
I
to be
don't mean
a
to step on
balance.
you there.
No, I was going to say there has to be a balance of that they know what the deadline is.
Hmm.
I can help them up to this point. After that, it is what it is. As we say in French, c'est la vie. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things, so many things I cannot do, and maybe I just have to let go of that
Hmm.
and understand that I've done what I can to help. I've tried. It sounds like I'm giving up though. No, not giving up. That's not right. I have to let go of some of that, I think,
Hmm.
and just say you're this is what you will receive, but going into 2023, trying to find out lifestyle changes, give me parameters that you're comfortable with me working within moving forward so that like best means of communication, blah blah blah, the things that we've talked about. And then at that point, if they do respond to that and they give me those parameters, then I have to live within those and
Hmm.
accept them so that
Right.
I'm not going, are they going to contact me or not? Like,
Right.
waiting up until 11 o'clock at night.
The problem that you pretty well demonstrated is that there's nothing you can do to affect a change in your client. Period. End. So it's not about the client. It's about how you're responding and what are the processes you can put in place to help you better manage it, because you're going to get those people that are just, for lack of a better phrase, plain flaky and forget.
Yeah. But I
you
think
know
I think you've given me some really good leads to go. Like now I have to take what you've given me and put it into like format, for lack of better words, to
Put it
present,
in your own words. Yeah.
you know, that this is, and I love the starting with the new year, like that we're going to start fresh. Let's regroup. Tell me if things have changed. Share with me what you want. These are the parameters you are comfortable with me dealing with
Hmm.
as we move forward.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so that I think that's a good thing.
So one more time, give us your contact information, Susie.
So my email, excuse me, is S as in Susie, JONZ as in zebra, AC at AOL.com. And my website is www.boisset, B as in boy, OISSET collection.com/Susie Whipple.
All right. Thank you very much. So this is the Business Mind. I am Mark Fechner. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Susie's going to kind of recap for us what she's taking away from today's session. If you have any insights that you would like to share, please go to the Transformation Talk Radio website or our facebook.com/, Transformation Talk Radio live feed. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Business Mind. So, Susie, what are the takeaways you're going to take with you from today's session?
I think first and foremost, I'm going to like really internalize the fact that it's my response. This is about how I am responding. I think that's number one. And I know that this is a common thing. I deal with businesses, and they don't always respond back to me either.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it is I have to take ownership to that. I do think connecting at the beginning of the year and saying, let's let's start from the beginning and let's see if there are things that have changed since you and I first became partners in this, wine consultant client relationship. What do you have preference changes? What is your best form of communication? How do you want me to communicate with you? What's
Hmm.
the best one for you? But also be kind of upfront and say, if I don't hear from you, I will make the assumption that you're good with this because
Hmm.
I'm giving you the opportunity to make changes, but if there's no response, then it will be as it's be. And I just have to accept that it's, but I will throw in that about based on your past choices, your, kind of your ordering thing. And also give them an opportunity to say, you know us, you know what we like, you know, throw a few in there, whatever, but give them that option. If they are too busy and they trust me enough, they can give me that green light to stay in their style, their, financial range of their shipment, that kind of stuff. And also hopefully say, if things come up in between, please feel free to just say, hey, this is happening.
Hmm.
Don't, I'd rather them say, I need to cancel or I need to skip versus hear nothing at all.
Right.
Like, just share. I mean, you don't have to go into the details, just let me know this is going on. And I
Right.
think that will help me respond better
Okay.
to them
Cool.
if I know those.
And one last time, give us your contact information.
My website is www.boissetcollection.com/Susie Whipple. Boisset is spelled Boisset. And my email is sjonzac@aol.com.
Very good. Thank you. So today we can talk about, the takeaway. The big thing is about looking at, what has worked in the past. What are your successes in the past, and how can you adapt those successes to the future and future engagements? And now that we're at the end of the year, that's actually a really good place to start thinking about how you can maybe adopt things. So if you would like to be a guest on my show, if you would like to work with me as a potential client, I would invite you to send me an email at mark@markfechner.com or go to my website, markfechner.com, and sign up for a free 30-minute conversation. So Susie, thank you very much for being here, for your willingness and openness to share a real life challenge in your business and allowing us to peek into the process of how to come about with how to tackle this challenge. So this will be my last show of 2022. The last live show, I should say. There will be another show on the fourth Tuesday of the month. It's been a very interesting year, both personally and professionally. And I'd like to really thank the Jacob, my producer, for having kind of helped me through some of these nutty ideas that I have. And also the whole family at Transformation Talk Radio, Dr. Pat, Jessica, and a whole host of other people who I can't remember right now, but have helped put this show together. Uh, at the beginning of the new year, the first Tuesday of January, I will have copywriter and editor Amber Chapman of AJC Copywriting and Editing, and we will be talking about uh, strategic planning, setting goals for 2023. I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. I have a couple very interesting projects coming up. One is which in April, I will be at the Chicago uh, Small Business Expo. I'll be having a booth at the show, and I will be doing live coaching sessions and recording them and then broadcasting them here. So the Business Mind will still air the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. Central. That's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So until we meet again next year, please, happy holidays to you and yours. Have a very festive new year. Be safe, be healthy, be profitable, and We'll see you next year. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to The Business Mind on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Mark Fechner, where we focus on real people with real issues, and we tackle those issues in real time. I don't have the answers. I hope you find the answers within you. The Business Mind Show airs the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Sometimes all you need is a change in perception. A certified coach will listen to your challenge, ask you intuitive, open-ended questions, help you find fresh perspectives, and then hold you accountable to reach your goals. Coaching is an investment in yourself that can create paths to greater success. To find out more about my coaching, go to markfechner.com.